already in the house. And so that we don't take so much time, I'm going to introduce him in a few seconds. All right, so our teacher for tonight is Mr. Joe Mijinyawa. Joe Mijinyawa is a Nigerian born in Zaria. He started schooling in Zaria, Kaduna State, and proceeded to Ilorin, Kwara State. Later, he studied sociology at ABU Zaria and did his NYSC in Enugu State. Mr. Mijinyawa worked at First Bank of Nigeria PLC for over 12 years. He is currently an ICANN student member, an associate member of Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, a member of Nigerian Institute of Management, and a member of the Nigerian Institute of Training and Development. Our teacher tonight is passionate about good governance at every level. He enjoys reading, teaching, and engaging in meaningful conversations. So, with a round of applause, please welcome our teacher tonight, Mr. Joe Mijin Yawa. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, sir. I don't think I
Thank you
did.
very much, Ini. I appreciate. Just for bragging rights, I think I have bragging rights now. I'm not a student member of ICANN. I'm a qualified member since I've not done my induction, but I think I've done well to have qualified by passing all my papers. Thank you very much.
Congratulations,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Good evening,
Well
everyone.
done.
She has done the introduction, and I will quickly would want us to go into the discussion for today. So I will need at least maybe two people who will be able to tell me what they understand by taxation. Or rather, let's say tax before we go to taxation. Anyone?
If you want to respond, okay, Victoria, I see your hand. Um, Victoria, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I think tax is an imposed levy that the government impose on the citizen in order to get some revenue to help in running the government, and taxation is the process.
Thank you
I
very
hope.
much. I think with this we can close the class, right? That was very apt. You've practically said all I need to say. Do we have any other person?
Yes, Tunde.
Yeah, thanks. I think tax is more or less, it's a, I don't know if I'll say it's mandatory, but it's a charge or a levy which is given or imposed by government on individuals and entities to,
Okay.
in order for them to take care of public expenditures and like services, infrastructure, and government. And it helps maybe stabilize the economy.
Perfect. And in fact, the both of you have rounded up the class for us because you've just said as it is what we need to know. Now, I would need another set of people, maybe two again, that will tell us what they understand by governance so that we can be on the same page and I would be able to know the level of expertise of the people I will be speaking with because most people have this notion about taxation. Most people have this notion about what the government is doing. But if we understand governance, Then we can now take it up from there, and then we'll see how we can round up in good time. Thank you. So just two people, please.
Peter, please go ahead. Peter Sunday, are you there? All right, so I'll take it Mr. Peter Sunday is not here.
All right. Just so we don't take much time, um, I would like to start by saying tax itself is a means through which government gets funded. And in different climes, in different forum, you would hear different discussions centered around the funds that the government raises. And naturally, in the public sector, you would have people speak about the various sources of income, one of which is taxation. Another one that concerns us, especially in Nigeria, is debt. People will say, the government keeps borrowing. But it's statutory that one of the sources of income is borrowing. Then, of course, sales of national assets, sales of other natural resources. But fundamentally, the one that we are speaking to is tax. And why is this topic important? We are all vying and hoping to be office holders. We're hoping to understand reasons why our office does some things. We are people that will advise those in the executive, advise those in the legislature on how to go about making their policies and all that. If we don't understand this, we might be misrepresenting ourselves and the government and also misleading our people. So it is fundamental that we understand the role of taxation or of tax as it is in governance. Now, the government needs to operate. Just like in our individual homes, for those that head homes, you would know that, yes, your salary is one source. Some of us have our side runs, and we consolidate all these things to be able to execute certain projects. For you to be able to say, okay, I want to buy a car, for instance, as a necessity for the family, you would obviously need to plan. And that resonates with government. There are ways that they would love to bring these monies together. And so one of it is tax. And they need to tax it on the people, on the citizens, because they are giving back to the citizens. So the citizens have that civic responsibility to pay their taxes so that the government will be able to pay or to meet up with their infrastructure and all that. Now, at the end of this class, I am looking at it that we should be able to understand these reasons behind tax. We should see the need for government to collect taxes, and then we should know who collects which tax, and then the basic principles of a good tax system. Then we have sources of our tax laws. Now, we've spoken about the different definitions of what is tax, and then different understanding, but naturally it is a compulsory levy. The second person that spoke said he's not sure if it is compulsory, but I'm telling you, it's a compulsory levy that is imposed on the citizens by a government, and they are expected to pay it for the government to be able to provide public services. Now, it is described as a levy, and it is usually imposed on the citizens or residents of a particular jurisdiction. So, for instance, by law, if you're born in Nigeria, you are a Nigerian, and you attain the age of 18, and you have started earning income in Nigeria, you have registered a company or you're running as an enterprise, whatever income you make, you derive from this country, you are expected to pay taxes on those funds. Now, I would also make reference to what the president said recently when they did the tax reforms. He said he is not taxing the roots, but he's taxing the fruits. So that's why I need us to understand this issue of tax. It is not that because you have earned 100,000, then they will slam 10% on 100,000. You need to understand that part. Because as you represent government, as you try to be in office, you should understand the fact that yes, these funds are not actually slammed on the total income of an individual. It is slammed on a percentage after certain deductions allowable deductions are done. So it is at the end of it. You would look at financial statement of banks or other listed companies when they say profit before tax, and they have profit after tax. So there's usually what we refer to as allowable expenses. These allowable expenses are expenses that are necessary and exclusive to the business. And so after the business must have deducted these expenses, what is left, they are expected to now declare to government, and then the government raises an assessment of tax on that. For those who earn salaries, they have an allowance. The government has said, okay, you can actually take out this amount, which is expected to be your running cost for the month. In fact, the new tax law says if you are receiving less than 800,000 per annum, you are free from this tax. They have allowed you to pay zero tax. You are rated at zero tax, which means they've given you that allowance. Go and enjoy. Go and sin no more. as, as the Bible might put it, go and sin no more. Don't abuse us. Don't say, what are we doing with your money? We have allowed this class of people. Go and enjoy yourself. They will still provide for the entirety of the citizens. Now, governance is about monitoring and controlling decisions, as well as giving leadership and direction. For all of us, you've had different classes in the course of this cohort. You've had different lectures, you have different assignments, you've had different group discussions and what have you, and it has put you on the right pedestal to understand what is expected of you in office. So I won't delve so much into what governance should be, but we should look at it that in whose interest is the country being governed? And how does power, or who has the power to make certain decisions? You would know that by now. You should have known the differences between the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, and their various roles. You know the limits of the judiciary. You should know the limits of the legislature and also the limits of the executive. There are certain things one arm cannot do without the other, and there are certain things one does to checkmate the acts of others. So all these are meant to guide and keep us in a society that is sane. Now, in Nigeria, we can remember in our history that we were made up of different kingdoms, different tribe. No, sorry, I won't use the word tribe. Different ethnic groups, different languages, and which were governed differently based on their traditions. You have the emirs in the north, you have the maize, you have the shehu, you have the Ezes, you have the Obas, you have the Onis, you have the different classes of rulers at different times. And these people, even at that time, had things that they were using to tax their subjects. Now you have people at that time who will pay based on the proceeds of their farm. So if you harvest 100 yam, they'll tell you, okay, there's a certain amount you take to the paramount ruler. That itself was a tax. You have others that will tell you, for you to cultivate in this area, there is an amount you need to pay to the paramount ruler. They do that. In the north, they had things like zakat, the kudin kasa, shuka. In the west, we had things, taxes like ishakole, which is from farm product, which I mentioned earlier. And then at some point in Nigeria, there was the Aba Women's Riot, and it was all based on tax. People, so what we are facing today when people shout about tax has always been there. As far back as 1929, if I'm not mistaken, we had these things by women who rioted that no, they only go to the market to sell their goods. Why are they now imposing taxes on them? But the truth is, the market stalls need to be maintained, they need to be built and maintained. The market itself needs to be secure. Some of these people use those monies to buy arms to keep so that they protect the territories where which they within their jurisdiction. So nobody wants another person to come and take over his land. And that was the case in those days, because you would hear in the past where you have the wars between the Jukuns and the Igalas, you have the wars between the Jukuns and the Hausas, you have different wars. And what was it all about? Trying to conquer new horizons, trying to conquer more space. So all this could not have happened if they didn't have funds. As a king of those days, as an emir, nobody gives you money. There was no government to even give you any allocation, but they needed to raise this money. So you can see that at every level, taxes are needed for us in governance. Now, we would also look at the different levels and times. The proclamation of 1914, which was after the amalgamation, and then there was a native law ordinance, which was applicable in the western part of Nigeria. We also had the law that was reenacted in eastern Nigeria in 1929, which led to the Aba Women's Riots, which I mentioned earlier. We have the Non-Native Protectorate Tax Ordinance of 1931, which later was consolidated with subsequent amendments in 1939. All these taxes were what were recently reformed to bring about the tax reforms of 2025. Now, I would quickly now take us to the objectives of taxation, or of tax rather. It's basically number one, for revenue generation. I've mentioned it over and over again that this tax is a means used by government to raise monies for it to be able to meet up with the various needs of the economy. It's also a form of redistribution of income and wealth, just like I mentioned that the new tax law gives those people that earn below 800,000 per annum the relief not to pay taxes. They are zero rated taxes. So these people do not pay the tax. But for those that pay, what they pay is used to run the whole economy, which is what we call the redistribution of income and wealth. Then it is used to manage the economy. There are certain goods that the government will want to regulate, so certain items, and then they impose taxes on them, just so that if you want to enjoy those products, you must pay more. So it now becomes like a kind of luxury tax. There's also harmonization of economic objectives, which is harmonization of diverse trade and economic objectives of different countries through a good tax system. So tax system can be employed by member states of ECOWAS, for instance, to achieve the philosophy of a single market within the region. Now, looking at taxes, we had an economist, Adam Smith, in 1776, who put down some principles of taxation. And left to him, every tax should be equitable. It affirms that every tax person should be taxed according to his ability. And just like I mentioned that the president said that we are taxing the fruits and not the roots. So the rich should pay more while the poor pay less or nothing, which is our case today. There should be certainty. People should be certain about what they are paying, and it should be convenient. And that is why we have the various platforms by the states and also the federal level to ensure that people pay their taxes seamlessly. We have administrative efficiency. We have the simplicity. It should be simple. It should be something everybody understands. It should be productive. It should be flexible and stable. Now we have the types of taxes, where we speak about the proportional taxes, where, for instance, a flat rate of a percentage is fixed as the rate for tax. So in this case, you now look at it as an example. We would say 100,000 will pay a tax of 20,000, while somebody who earns or has a profit of 1 million will pay 200,000 because it's a fixed percentage. Now, for the progressive taxes, this is graduated, like the personal income tax rates, which is not slammed on the full amount, but is graded after all allowable deductions have been made. Then the regressive tax is not common. It's the type of tax that the tax payable decreases as the income increases. I don't think that is feasible and obtainable anyway. It's just an academic line. It's for knowledge sake, but it's not applicable. Then we also have what we call direct taxes and indirect taxes. Direct taxes are those taxes that slammed on the taxpayer directly by government, while the indirect taxes could mean things like the value added tax, which is VAT, the excise duties, custom duties, and all that. Now, every tax, or rather taxation, which is defined as the process of administering tax, has three tripods, where you have the tax policy, you have the tax laws, and also the tax administration. Now, these tax policies are general statements of intention that guide the thinking of and the action of certain of all concerned towards realizing set goals. Movement of emphasis from income tax, consumption tax, and even the introduction of self-assessments by government to ensure that taxpayers are the ones that assess themselves, not the tax authorities. Then we have the tax laws, where we have now income tax, either personal or companies, it is income tax. We have VAT, we have the education tax, and also, sorry, I would want to say, um, I am truly, truly, truly sorry. I should have posted a new um, note to this because some of these taxes have been changed as a result of the tax reforms. So I would personally make sure I make an update and send to the class so that it can be shared on your platform, either through WhatsApp or emails. But I assure you that you would get a new and updated note on this. And so we have the tax laws, which are backed by the Constitution, and the power to impose tax in Nigeria is exclusively legislative authority of the federal government. There are various machineries set up by the government to ensure strict compliance of these laws, non-compliance of which calls for penalties and fines. Now, for tax administration at the federal level is done by the Nigeria Revenue Service, which used to be known as Federal Inland Revenue Service, and then the state internal revenue services of each state, and then we have the local government revenue committee. This involves the practical interpretations and application of these tax laws, which is the tax administration. And we know that the sources of Nigerian law, as I said earlier, from the history, we can look at our customary laws, which are the native laws. And like I said, various paramount rulers were able to impose these taxes on their subjects. And then we have the statute of laws, which is the tax laws that have been made, and those tax laws are now used for the administration of these taxes. Then we have case laws as a result of either Supreme Court, appeal courts, and high courts of justice on principles of tax laws and their interpretations. Once a case is concluded and it is in a particular direction, it becomes a source of tax law. We have circulars by the inland revenues. We have opinions of tax experts. We have budget and pronouncement of relevant ministries. And like I said earlier, paramountly, it's the Constitution of the Federal Republic. So I would love to say that in everything we do, in as much as people frown at what the government does with their taxes, I would love to tell us that if you find yourself in government, accountability, transparency would help you. But most importantly, doing what you think your citizens or your subjects or the people you oversee are able to say yes. What we put in, we have seen the outcome, rather than people saying, of what essence is this? So on this note, I would say we have come to the end of my presentation. And I'll appreciate if we have questions that are related to what we have discussed so that we can put them together and then we can end the class. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very, very much. We
Thank
can
you.
already, some hands are already up. So I would allow you on mute so you can ask your question. We'll start with Mr. Yusuf, Aliyu Yusuf.
All right, Mr. Ali Yusuf.
Thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful session.
Thank you.
Mine is just need of more clarification, which I believe it will be of benefit to all of the participants here on this value added tax. The VAT we
Yes.
have been hearing, we have been seeing. Yes, we need more insights at least about VAT, please. If you get my question straight,
All right.
thank you.
All right. So value added tax, it's a tax that is imposed on products that are being consumed. Now, if we dig deep into taxation, we'll be talking about input tax and output tax in the sense that for raw materials, for instance, as a producer, you have purchased your raw materials. There is no tax on that. There's no VAT on that. But by the time you refine that product, it's like getting wood from the forest. Yes, you pay some kind of permits or something, but you are not paying VAT on that product. But by the time you modify it to become a chair, then at the point of sale, you now tax the consumer a percentage, which in Nigeria is 7.5% on that product. The same thing happens to water. Like I will tell you that I think I've seen it somewhere where it is written that your location matters in life. Water in bus stop is not the same price with water at the airport. And what is being added is the value, because you can as well go under the tap and drink that water free. But because you want it packaged in a bottle and that bottle was purchased, there's a value that has been added to the natural state. So you need to pay a tax on it. So that is what value added tax is all about. I don't know if I clarified your question.
Yes, you do, sir. Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate.
Who's next?
Olutunji Timothy Ajao. Please ask your question.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
We really appreciate this class again today. It's quite enlightening. So I have about two questions, sir. The
Okay.
first one is, what are the roles of the citizens in ensuring that the tax proceeds are maximally used for the public good? That is my
Okay.
first question. The roles of the citizen in ensuring that the tax proceeds are maximally used for the public good.
Okay, sir.
And the second one is a little lengthy. Second one is, how will you rationalize the new biting tax regime despite the disturbing inflation rates, persistent increase on the charges for government services, increasing oil revenue, loans, and the lavish lifestyle of public officials? That is my second question. Thank you, sir.
All right, sir. So, like I said earlier, tax is a compulsory levy imposed on citizens. It is not paid in expectation of a return. You are not paying your tax because you expect government to do a particular thing to you. No, you're paying your tax because it's civic responsibility. And so look at it this way, that you are today employed, oh, sorry, elected, sorry, I used the word employed, elected as your state governor, for instance. And because you want to be fair to the people, you say, okay, I will not take taxes. And you're waiting for allocation from government. Meanwhile, people are just enjoying themselves, and they are these same people will expect you to do the same thing you are doing when you collect tax. So the citizens do not have any role when it comes to the use of tax, because, like I told you, it is not paid in expectation of a return. In the days of our fathers, our grandfathers, our great grandfathers, when they pay the Ishakole, when they pay, do you have mouth to tell the Oba what he should use your money for? No, that was traditional. But okay, now we're more civilized, we're more modernized, we are in governance, and we're looking at when citizens pay, it is their civic responsibility. Now, it is now up to those in office to ensure that the needs of these people are met. Now, I always mention something, though people see it in a wrong light sometimes. I say the priority of government cannot be the priority of the citizens. However, if we are representing our citizens, it means that we are close to them and we should know their priorities. So, if taxes are paid at the federal level, it's shared across the country with a formula. And it means that those in those offices should be able to say, okay, this is our immediate need. Some of them will tell you that the immediate need is borehole. My people don't have water. They will do borehole. It is from taxpayers' money. The other people will tell you, no, 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 no. The insecurity here is too much. We need a police barracks. It is from taxpayers' monies that they will build all those things. So the citizens do not actually have a role, but their role stands in electing the right people into the right offices. So that is the role I would say is to the citizens, for them to elect the right people that will be accountable to them. Now, concerning the lavish lifestyle, the inflations we're speaking to, that is more of speaking to a lot of things. You bundled it in a lot of things, but I will try and break it down. Um, the country would experience inflation, and every country in the world today is facing inflation. It is so bad in some climes that if you speak with someone in Australia, as we speak now, he will tell you that things are not the same. And it is everywhere. Economies are shutting down. The world is becoming too, I don't know, there are a lot of factors to this. Now, on the other hand, the lifestyle of the politicians, I will still take you back to your first question, that if you elect the right people into office, then you should expect the right representation. So I would not say I support the lavish lifestyle. I will not say I support, but I would say I would encourage Nigerians to ensure that they elect people into offices the right way, and then they have a handshake with those people so that when they don't do well, they know that they have failed their people. That is my position to that, sir. I don't know if I got it right for you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Before I unmute the other hands that are raised, quick announcement. Please remember to name your ID on this meeting should be the name that would appear on your certificate. Because if we miss your attendance, that's it. And then your name has to appear the way you want it on your certificate. Somebody asked if we can have the recording when the class is over. Yes, all the recordings, this particular recording is being streamed live. So just go to the YouTube page, our YouTube page, ECN and Electoral College Nigeria, and you'll find the recording. Okay, so our next question is from Ibrahim Umar. Mr. Ibrahim, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Inekepe. Thank you very much for your moderation. And our speaker, Joy Mijinyowa. Mijinyowa, barka da waraka.
Barka dai. Nagode.
Thank you very much. I am listening to you, I think, for the fourth time on tax and governance. So it's my pleasure. I'm Ibrahim speaking from Bauchi State. It's my pleasure being in your class, for being your student for a couple of, I think, yes, not every month. So thank you, and thank you for the management of Electoral College for putting this on for us to know our civic responsibilities and other aspects. I have two questions. My first question is I don't know this new tax law that's adopted, how it categorizes the non-governmental organizations tax and the business, like the business names or the companies, because actually CAC, I don't know what is the problem with that CAC guys. So they are disturbing us as non-governmental and non-profit organization. Like I say, I own a civil society organization that I run, but they do disturb us with emails of filing returns, more especially the NRS, former Federal Revenue Service. I don't know, maybe if you can clarify us on that, because I don't know, it's a situation whereby it's a non-profit organization where charity activities are going on and they are shooting bullet on tax and the co. Is there anything close to that? Then my second question is on contesting elective position like councillorship, state house assembly, and house of reps. I don't know. You if once comes to contest, they were asking you of a tax, I think is tax certificate or tax something of that nature. So please, can you enlighten us that? What's
tax
that,
clearance
please?
certificate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So starting from the first one, starting from the issue on your NGO, you are a citizen in Nigeria. Your business is in Nigeria, and you derive your revenue or you do your operations in Nigeria, and so you are answerable to the government of Nigeria. And so in that case, what CAC would ask from you, number one, is to file your statement of affairs to show what you're doing in line with what you registered with them. They are a regulator. They need to be sure that you are still doing what you said you'll be doing. Your objects and everything has to be in line with what you registered. Where there's a distortion, they will definitely get back to you and ask you to make amends. As for the Nigerian Revenue Service, based on the new Revenue Act, non-governmental organizations are expected to also file their records with the Revenue Service. And this is in line with the fact that if you have funding, for instance, and you utilize your funding exclusively for that sake, then you are not going to be taxed. But they need to see it. They need to know that, okay, oh, this man said he doesn't make profit. Okay, let's see your affairs, statement of affairs. Let's see your statement of your financial statement. Does it actually show what you say? And when there's no profit, there's no tax. If you don't make profit, you don't pay any tax. But you must file. Filing, you have to do it. And not filing would call for penalties, and those penalties must be paid. So, on the second issue, speaking to election candidates who want to go in for election, now, if you are going into an elective office or an office where you be elected to be, I believe that you should actually have been a good citizen. And one way of being a good citizen is to ensure that you pay your taxes. You that don't pay taxes, how can you now go and say you're in government and then you want people to pay taxes? You lead by example. And so they will naturally expect you to be a constant taxpayer who has his taxes paid as at when due. And your tax clearance certificate shows you as a good citizen. You mentioned something about small businesses and all that. Yes, small businesses like enterprises are usually treated as personal businesses. So at the end of the day, after you have done your financials, you have declared your books, your profits is where you pay yourself. And if it is a partnership, you share among owners. So when you do those sharings, it is graded just the way the personal income tax is being graded, and then you pay that. You have your allowable expenses and all that as an individual, and then you pay. I don't know if that answers part of your questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Ibrahim Omar.
All right. Thank you, Ibrahim. Our next question is from Victoria. Miss Victoria, you may ask your question.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. It was an insightful section. Thank you. I want
Thank
to
you.
ask you, when you were reading, you were talking about when you were talking about this issue of Kudin Kasa. I want clarification on this aspect of Omo Nile. This
Okay.
so it's like the Kudin Kasa issue was like a kind of history, that something that is gone, that is no more
No, no,
current.
no, 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 no. It's not as if it's no more current too.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong.
So, okay.
Sorry for cutting you short, but which part of Nigeria are you from?
Well, I'm in the Southwest. I wanted to ask on Ogun State. There's a
Okay,
law they
Omanile.
said that, yes. They said, I think Lagos State has a law that is against that Omoniles issue, because there is a company that's been building from foundation to the lintel,
Mm,
you must pay each stage, even to the roofing, you must pay. When the company could not pay anything, we had to
yes.
approach police, and police people say, okay, that the law is just applicable maybe in Lagos State also, that they
Okay.
have to go. When they got to the site to talk with those people that disturbing, the policemen spoke with them and asked the company again, why not just pay them? These people, they can kill anybody for 200 naira, that just pay them so
Yes.
you can continue your building. So I don't know, is it that it's only state by state that we look into this issue, or we just have to say to everybody, Kudin Kasa or Monile, apart from other taxes we pay?
So you see, in as much as tradition and history remains with us as part of us, the issue of Kudenkasa, for instance, in the north, if you buy a land, that's I will be able to speak for where I'm conversant with. If you buy a land, naturally, you have your witnesses, you have people. So we have what we call the district head, we have the village head, and then we have the ward head. Now, at these different levels, you must drop something. You drop something for them to sign your papers and pass it on, so that you don't have issues tomorrow. If anybody comes to you, you don't have a problem. In Abuja, there's a practice. You know, the land is owned by the Baggies. and different sets of development in the federal capital has moved them to different resettlements. Now it is so good that when you buy a land, you always see cashew tree. But the day you drop your first block on that land, the people of that land will come and meet you that they were the ones that planted that cashew tree. Meanwhile, they've been settled, they've been moved away from that place. They don't live there anymore. But they will say that this is their grandfather's farmland and the cashew is an economic tree which you have to pay for. So there are some things that are, will I say, cultural or traditional, that nobody can say anything about it. Omanile in Lagos, yes, I know about it. You buy your land, the touts will just show from anywhere and tell you that now our land this, you cannot carry tip up and pass this place. You must give us something. If you are entering some areas, they will stop you. They say, no, you are crossing through our father's land. You must pay something. That is it should be treated at its units and levels by the different governments involved. So I wouldn't say there is a general federal law that abolishes it or that should abolish it, but I think it's something that it should be treated peculiarly by the various states. The issue of reaching a particular point of building and then you need to pay something, honestly, I cannot relate. I cannot relate because I don't think I've read any tax law that has something of that nature. But it is peculiar to that environment and should be escalated to the right authorities for peace to reign. Now, the advice I would give the company, when you are building or when you're establishing yourself, there are stakeholders you must take into cognizance, either internally or externally. Externally, your environment. You must water the ground. You cannot just come as a Dangote, do refinery, and then tell me that I will not create a new. I will create a nuisance now because you are making money on my land. So it is expected that you give back to the society. You employ the people. Let them be part of what you are doing. Let them be part of your processes so that at the end of the day, they will feel a sense of belonging and they will not give you any issues. I don't know if that helps.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
sir. Thank
All right, thank you, sir. Our next question is from Miss Mercy Kwabe.
All right.
Mercy Kwabe.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Thank
Mercy.
you. Hi, good
Thank you.
evening. Thank you very much for this lecture. And to be honest, with your responses, you've kind of touched on the two questions I had, but like with the example you gave about Abuja. So
Yes.
there was the time we had the building project in Jahi, and then the
Yes.
many trees, and then we had to pay per tree.
Yes. It's
Was
Patricia.
and it was something that we never saw coming. So my question from there is that you also made a statement, which was that no one can say anything about it because this is sort of like the norm, the tradition, or what has been going on. Shouldn't the and this is my question on that part, shouldn't
Yes.
the government take account for this exception? So I agree that it might not be something federal, mostly because every state has their own norm and how they function or whatever practices they have, especially with tax collections, right? Or in Abuja, you pay ground rent, you pay and different people will come and meet you. It's always like a lot of things that you are paying for, things that you never even knew existed, right? And with all of this, and there's like forms for all of this. So like these are government forms of taxation that you pay. So what I am asking is that can't each state create a medium in which these practices are recognized and to some extent it is being captured in whatever payment is being made, right, to the government? That's my first question. Then my
Okay.
second question is towards the question Ibrahim was
Sorry.
asking, which has to
Sorry.
do with
Sorry.
an NGO. Okay.
There's an interruption somewhere. I don't know if
I
the
don't think
person
it's
can
from me.
unmute.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you.
Okay, so my second question is towards the NGO space. So, what we do with the NGO that I work with, right, is that we try not to. So, what we do when we get international funding is that, yes, we're not taxed on that, but when we engage vendors and contractors, we withhold tax because we pay those taxes. So we ask for their TIN and everything before we even engage them. And then we pay those taxes on their behalf when we're filing for our certificate, right? And we get audited yearly. So there was a time where for survivors, because we deal with survivors of SGBV, so sexual and gender-based violence. So there was a time where we needed to fundraise, and our donor had approved that we can take some money out of the budget to create mesh, so merchandise to sell, and 100% of those proceeds going directly to the victim support fund, right? And at the end of the year, at that point it was FIRS. So FIRS still came for us to say, oh no, you need to pay taxes on this merch that you sold. And we were like, we did not keep any of the money. It didn't go into our pocket. Like, yes, it went into our pocket, but for SGBV, for the work that we do. And it was such a back and forth that I think at the end of the day, we gave up and we just had to pay just so that we could get our clearance. And yes, so my question is, like, with taxation, we are not supposed to pay for something like that, but then we had to pay. So where is this lapse coming from? Is it a lack of understanding on our part, or is it a lack of, I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question. Yeah.
From the first one, I don't know if you've been to Nasarawa State before from
Yes, I
Abuja.
have.
You would notice there was a time these people that would just put their stick on the road with nails on it, trying to stop you if you're in a pickup or something. Those stoutish looking guys.
Yeah.
You know that they are collecting taxes, right? And those taxes are actually backed by the law. They are at the local government level. So at different levels in Nigeria, there are taxes, and these taxes are being administered by the different levels of administration. So I cannot say there should be a general tax or a general law, that covers all this. But naturally, there should just be a sense of responsibility at the various levels, either at local government, state government, or federal government, to ensure that its citizens do not pay taxes that do not go to government. They should be able to account for taxes that are actually making sense. So, concerning the issue of Abuja, for instance, you cannot stop them. If not, there will be a problem to you. And like I said, you must be able to manage stakeholders to be sure that whatever you are doing, you can make progress in it. Now, on the NGO space, the moment you said something about you were allowed to do the mesh thing to make some funds, already you have gone
from a
away,
donor fund, yes.
and you have already deviated from your core responsibilities. You've gone into business. And so whatever profits you make will be taxed. So even if you are going to issue those funds to the recipients, it should be after tax because you've gone into a business. That is my own take. The law has a form of lacuna when it comes to that, but this is my understanding of it. You went into business. If, for instance, the excess funds was, for instance, 200,000, and you're expected to pay a tax of a social amount. So you pay your taxes after your allowable expenses, and so the balance is what you now share to your recipients. At that, you have done the part of government, and you have done the part of the citizens, and you have done what you are expected to do. However, your company will need a tax consultant, and I'm sure you do have a tax consultant, to be able to follow up on these issues and make sure that these things are done correctly and rightly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Merci. Thank you very much, sir. Aliyu Haruna. You can ask your question now. Mr. Lee Aruna, please go ahead.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Yeah,
We
good
can
evening.
hear you, sir. Please go ahead.
My question is not about the program. I want to ask question about. Okay, it's not about the topic. I'm sorry. I want to ask question about the eligibility of the certificate. Is it for those that participate
Okay, so
from
you
the
can
starting of the
ask that
program, or
question.
because me, I just came. It's my first time that I attended the program today.
So you will not be getting a certificate. There is a percentage of attendance you must have put in before you get a certificate. Yeah.
Okay, but so when is the next cohort will
I have to mute you, Mr. Aruna. Your question should be asked within your group, not in this class, please. We have more questions for our speaker, our teacher, Mr. Joe. So Olutunji says, why is it that each time the government wants to introduce new taxes or increase the existing ones, the officials only make references to places with harder tax regimes? I think he's referring to the example you gave when you were um, answering this question. Do you want to answer that, sir?
Yes, I will. And
Okay.
it's simple that it's not possible to live in isolation. That even when you want to make decisions in your family, you look at what is applicable in other families. And so it's not possible that you're trying to make your tax reforms and you will not compare yourself with others. It's only right and natural that you make comparisons with what is obtainable in the international community. And when you are able to do that, that is when the comparisons come. And I'm sure if you want to make progress, you will not look at somebody behind you, you look at somebody ahead of you. So I think that answers the question.
Okay, sir. We have another um, question. I think it's also a follow-up question to something you had said. Said, thank you for the insightful class. This is from Elvis Diomvir. Sorry if I spelled your name. Sir, how is it a civil right to pay tax when struggling citizens that are managing quack businesses to earn their living are compelled to pay taxes to the state government monthly, excuse me, pay taxes to the state government monthly and local government every market day? When you say quack businesses, what do you mean? Do you mean small businesses, Mr. Elvis?
I think it should be good we clarify. But before then, I have mentioned that tax is a civil responsibility of every citizen. And whether you like it or not, it's a compulsory levy imposed. And it is expected for you to be a good standing citizen that you pay it. And that is why those vying for elected offices are usually asked to come with their tax clearance. Now, for every climb you do your business, you should understand your environment before you go into every business. So it is one of the issues we have in Nigeria where people just want to sit down and make money and not knowing how to go about the rudiments. Now, whichever level of business, you should understand that, okay, as I am going into this market, every week I must pay so amount. You inculcate it into your costs of doing business. And so your prices should be the definition of that. And you should be as competitive because you cannot be the only one in that market. And for the state level, I believe it is personal income tax. And you pay it accordingly. For those that do transport businesses, there are regulations around it. There are people you must pay. There are certain fees you must pay either to state or to the police or to who. but you need to understand your business environment to run your business and to be a right standing citizen in every environment you find yourself.
Awesome. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I
Thank
believe that
you.
our questions have been answered. We don't have any follow-up question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Sir,
much.
you may all, send your reactions, your emojis, your comments, so that our speaker for tonight knows that he has done a great job.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. So thank you very much. It was great to have you in class today. Thank you
Thank
for
you
all
very
that
much.
you have shared about taxes. I believe that we have all gained from it. Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.
All right, then. So before we go tonight, another quick reminder. I think it's already too late for that. So the person who had asked the question earlier, I think Mr. Aruna, please ask within your groups for when the next cohort would begin. That information would be shared there. All right. So thank you very much, everybody. It's been a wonderful evening.